Hey there, I'm Erica Gamble on the marketing team with Pinhole Press. For those who don't know, we're a really small team. Every Pinhole Press photo gift is handcrafted in the USA, and we specialize at kids' games and books. At Pinhole Press, it's our mission to spread smiles. It's simple. Life's special moments should bring a smile to your face, so we do our best to inspire one with an easy customization process and a beautiful photo gift. We are spreading smiles in a new way for our customers. We are using our platform for good by hosting presentations and conversations with different experts and professionals, like the one that my colleague and friend Abby is about to introduce. We hope to share useful information, connect people with similar interests, and promote memory keeping in all of its forms, especially photography. Without further ado, Abby, take it away.
For the introduction, Erica. My name's Abby Tolbert, and I'm on the marketing team with Pinhole Press. I'm very excited today to introduce you to blogger, photographer, and videographer behind BakedBree.com. Baked Bree is a place where you will find great recipes and inspiration for your next family adventure. Bree's background is in education. She taught elementary and middle school and loved being a teacher. Specifically, Bree taught math and reading in both regular and special education classrooms before she retired and became a stay-at-home mom, which then morphed into becoming a blogger and food photographer. She's still teaching, it just looks a lot different. Bree, welcome and thank you for being here. We're excited to talk with you about how to thrive and not just survive in virtual school. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I'm Bree Hester. I have 3 kids. I live in Boston. We're a military family. My kids are older now. There's Will, who is almost 17, Ava, who's almost 15. She'll be 15 next month. And I have a 12-year-old, Clay, who is going into 7th grade. This is not our first foray into virtual school. We actually moved here from Germany last summer. And so I have thoughts about virtual school. It's a great experience. My husband's in the Coast Guard. We move every couple of years, every 2 to 3. We've been in Boston for 1 year. We're going to be here for a couple more. I normally only write about food, but my background is in education, and I saw so many of my friends and people on the internet struggling with this virtual school situation, and I know how hard the decision was to decide if they were going to go back to school, if they were going to send their kids virtual, and I had experience, so I wrote a blog post about my virtual school experience, and I was shocked that so many people responded to it, which is why Erica asked me to come talk to you tonight, which, thanks, Erica. I actually had a great experience with virtual school. The first time was our own choice. The first time we did it, we were living in Germany, and it's a very different experience because I guess the best way to say it is if I was living in the States, we lived on a military base and you get to go to one school, and if the school isn't the right fit for your kid in the US, you could go to a private school, or you could go to a charter school, or you could kind of do something else. But there you have one choice. And so for both of my kids, for totally different reasons, it just wasn't the right fit. So we tried virtual school. We did a program through the state of Florida, and it actually was wonderful. Like, it really was great. I didn't have to teach them. We had a teacher that did it. It was a really structured program. It was really kind of awesome. It was enough structure that they did what they were supposed to do, and enough freedom that we kind of could do, have the beauty of homeschool experience. And then, like everybody else this spring, we ended up virtual schooling because of COVID. So I just felt like I had some experience in the subject, so I was going to write about it. And people really responded well. So, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it.
When you were abroad working with your kids, because you are working full-time remote as well as your kids now at this point, did you find that it was helpful for you guys to each have your own designated workspaces, or did you share workspace? Or can you talk anything about that? Because I've heard people asking, is it worth investing in space because they don't know how long it's going to last?
So the workspace question, I actually think, is the question I get asked the most. We didn't have dedicated workspaces, and I don't really think kids need a dedicated workspace. What I do think is important is having the school stuff, because there is a lot of stuff that goes along with school. Like for instance, my kids, all of them have, both my kids actually are in 2 different school districts. So I have 2 high schoolers and a middle schooler, and they're in totally different school districts. So we have totally different plans, totally different everything, but they both are 1-to-1 schools, which means everything is online. Anyway, so they all have iPads, they don't have books, that kind of thing. So what I do think is important is having all the school stuff together. So what I recommend is actually having like a bin or a tote or something like that that moves along with your kid. So one thing that we had that worked really well was we had like these homework bags. And actually in that post, there's a link to what we had. We started with one and eventually everybody had their own. But like you put all the stuff that they're going to need for the day, pencils, markers, highlighters, index cards, whatever it is, put that stuff together, and then that moves with your child. For instance, another thing too is, like, I have a friend that has 6 kids. She doesn't have the space for 6 kids. So like some are going to be on the floor, some are going to be at the kitchen table. They're going to be all over the place. Like that's a good way to manage that. My oldest child doesn't do great work sitting at a desk. He does great work standing up. And even in the classroom, he does better work standing up. So that's a great way to manage it. So I don't really think that you have to have a dedicated workspace. And the thing that I think too that we don't really think about as parents is we don't spend a lot of time in their classroom. Like we don't spend a lot of time there unless you're like volunteering a ton. So we don't really know what their day looks like. But now traditionally, they don't spend a lot of time sitting at a desk. Like there's a ton of movement in a classroom anyway. So I think you'd be surprised to see how little time they spend sitting in one specific spot.
6 kids, that's a lot of kids at home trying to learn. How do you keep 6 kids focused during the day?
One, I don't think you can keep 6 kids all focused all the time during the day. I think one of the other things that is super important is that you need to really manage your expectations, You have to remember that this is not going to be perfect. Everybody is not going to do exactly what they're supposed to do all the time. You're just doing the best that you can, There's a lot of movement, getting up to get a pencil, getting up to go to the bathroom, get up to go to the water fountain, get up to go to the special, get up to go here or there. There should be a lot of movement at home too. Like you should do things in short amounts of time. So like, I think that like if you have opportunities for breaks, go take a walk outside, take the dog for a walk, take a stretch, get a drink of water, have a snack, like have a chance to regroup, reset, that kind of thing. That will engage them. That will refocus them. It will give them enough time to kind of, okay, I'm recharged. I can go sit back down and do what I need to do. That stuff's important. Kids need to move around. They're not designed to sit for really long periods of time.
You think even as an adult who, we're not kids and that we want to run around all the time and be really energetic and, curious about different things about the world, but we still need breaks to get up and stretch and get a drink of water or take a walk around the block. Like, I love that you mentioned that for kids too, because I think sometimes there's so much focus on them being good and productive and getting their work done that we forget that like they're just little people who are dealing with this in their own way.
Absolutely. I can't sit still for that long. I absolutely can't. So I can't expect my kids to do that. And my kids are older and they can't. Regardless of how we feel about this situation, it's still our kids' school year, and school's really important.
In preparation for this conversation, I was reading a bunch of articles, and a lot of the advice that I saw, you're creating the environment for your kids. So if you're worked up about and have anxiety about it, and you're putting it out there and just, already setting the tone for what it might be. And so to your point, exactly.
Parents, guys, you are your child's first teacher to begin with. Like, every parent is their child's first teacher. So this is not unnatural. Like, every parent was their child's first teacher. We taught them how to learn. We taught them all the things that they needed. Yes, I'm definitely not equipped to teach my child chemistry this year, but we're going to do what we got to do,
If I could pause you there, I'm just curious what you would say to moms who don't have that confidence that you have. And maybe it's because you have a background in education or just because you've gone through this with your kids, right? Someone who might have a full-time job that they're trying to maintain while supporting their child who's learning virtually or similar situation.
I would say just take it easy on yourself. Like, I get it. It's super hard. I own my own business. I'm trying to work from home. I'm trying to do all the things, and I can't do it. And my children can dress themselves, feed themselves, drive themselves, like all the things, and I am struggling. So I can't even imagine how hard it is for those parents. So what I would say is give yourself some grace and understand that it's not all going to be perfect. It's not all going to get done. And that's okay. If nothing else, read a book. Like, that's it. If that's all you did all day, that's totally fine. Like, your teacher might not appreciate that, but, really at the end of the day, you want your kid to still like going to school, and you still want to have a good relationship with your child, because you don't really want the stress of all the other things to really dictate how your kid feels about school.
Where we're at right now is so far out of the realm of nobody chose this, like nobody asked for this. So
nobody's fault.
Just working with what we're working with for now and, looking ahead to normal someday.
Yeah, let's hope it's temporary.
Yeah. There is some scrap of a silver lining. Like, you might not ever have this time together without being in these circumstances, or, you might not get to witness like your child making these developments at school that you only get a report card or an art project or something, and now you're getting to see it firsthand. So,
as weird as the winter or spring was, and it really was weird, don't get me wrong, like, I had a great time with my kids. We made pasta and bagels, and we built a garden. We actually built the raised beds.
It's also such an amazing learning experience. You're talking about like non-traditional classroom, like the experience to spend more time with family and to be able to do things like go out and plant a garden. Or I know so many people are like, yeast was sold out because so many people were baking their own bread for the first time. And I think that there's something wonderful that we're all learning new things, and even kids, when it doesn't relate to their curriculum, are still very much learning while they're at home.
There's math, there's science, there's all kinds of life skills in there that you need to learn. Don't think that they're not getting things that they need to learn to be humans.
Let's tie it back to Pinhole Press a little bit. What do you think, do you have anything that you've done throughout this time at home with your kids that you've done to document it different than you normally would, or you've started new traditions or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think it's, well, there's a couple things I did and a couple things I wish I did. So there's two, really. I definitely shot a lot of like the things, because I don't normally get my kids. I remember being in the kitchen one day and like looking up and I'm like, oh my God, all my kids and my husband are at the table on a Wednesday. And I kept my camera in the kitchen because it was like so odd for everyone to be home. And I did document that kind of stuff. And I would shoot little clips here and there. Because I do love to do family films. I wish I did more of it, you know, because we're like, what I wish I would have done was started a book from the beginning of shutdown to the end. Just to see the hair progression would have been incredible. That would have been choice. So that is one thing I would have done. Also, like all the recipes we made. Like I would have loved to do like a book of all the things we learned to make in quarantine, or the progress of our garden, or like that kind of stuff. I think it's important to document this because I do think that like our kids are going to be like, when I was a child and during the pandemic of 2020, you know, like they're going to be able to show it to their grandkids. I think that was going to be really cool.
We have our, one of the dry erase boards downstairs, and we've been keeping track of the earliest time that someone's asked what's for dinner.
Yeah, I'm so tired of talking about food, thinking about food, shopping for food, out of control. Like you're trying to.
It's me, by the way. I have the record at 11:04 in the
Was
morning.
it like 11:30?
Oh man, Erica, I think I've asked before that recently. I think it's been like breakfast time for me. I'm eating my avocado toast, wondering what's for dinner.
I do have one more thing about the school thing that I think will be very helpful. And I found it to be something that helped us a lot when we did virtual school the first time and the second time. And it kind of goes back to that because when we shut down in the spring, it was technically spring, but for us in New England, it was really winter. And so it felt like a snow day. It felt like a really long snow day, you know? So we would have like lazy days where we would just hang out in our jammies and I'd make pancakes, and it just felt like that. And like we'd have the school day would start late too. Like the kids would have class at like 10, and then there wasn't like a lot of rhyme and reason in the beginning. And I do think that will be very different this time around. The first time that we went into shutdown and went to virtual, I think that the schools really were putting a Band-Aid on a problem. You know, like they did the best that they could with what they had, but like they had to really quickly put a Band-Aid on an issue. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we can't put our kids in school because it's not safe. So we're going to go real quick and put school online and do what we got to do to get there. And each week it got a little bit better, but those first couple weeks were rough, admittedly. But what I think will be a lot better is I think schools have really figured it out. You know, like it's getting better. They've had time to plan. So I think that the schedule will be better. That's number one. Number two, I think that the first time that we went into virtual school, we were in total lockdown. You know, like at that time, like we could barely go outside in New England. And this time, like at least we can go outside. You know, we can go for walks. We can do the things that we couldn't do the first time. That I think will make this a lot better. That's the first thing. The second thing is treat school like school, you know? Like I did not do this with my kids because I did not have the mentality that like, oh, this is like for real. And I really thought it was a snow day. So like I let my kids go to bed really late and we slept late. I didn't, you know, make them get dressed to go to school. Like I let them do school in their pajamas. We're not going to do that this time. Like we're already starting hey guys, like it's bedtime, got to get up. We're starting getting them back into a school routine, eat breakfast, as if I was going to put them on the bus to send them to school.
Sure.
Like I'm treating this like it's going to school.
Do you have a first day of school picture planned? Outfits picked out?
Yeah, I'm going to do it like I would as if they were going to school, you know, like, because it is their first day of school. So, yeah, like, we're going to treat it that way. Yeah.
Well, Bree, it was fantastic speaking with you. Could you share a little bit just with, if people want to watch this and then find out more about you or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Sure. You can always find me on bakedbree.com. It's Bree with 2 E's. And you can always find me on Instagram, and I am at Bree Hester on Instagram. Thanks for having me.
Bye, Bree. Thank you.